Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into a story that speaks directly to the heart of South Africa's economic challenges, one that's raising serious alarm bells among political analysts, opposition parties, and increasingly, the public. The MK party has issued a scathing criticism of Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's handling of the 2025 national budget, accusing him of delivering a budget that not only lacks strategic direction but also fails to meet the urgent socio-economic needs of the country. This isn't just political posturing, it's a battle over how public funds are allocated in a nation still reeling from inequality, rampant unemployment, and weakened public services. So let's break down what's happening, what the MK party is so concerned about, and what this says about the broader state of South Africa's governance. First, let's talk about the 2025 national budget itself. According to Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, this year's budget was intended to stabilize the economy, address rising debt, and maintain investor confidence. But critics argue it did none of those things effectively. What it did do, however, is reveal deep cracks in how fiscal decisions are made, and who really benefits from them. The MK party came out guns blazing during a parliamentary session on Friday, accusing the finance minister of prioritizing austerity and macroeconomic stability over the real needs of ordinary South Africans. MK spokesperson John Themba didn't mince words. He said, and I quote, "We have consistently advocated for a budget that prioritizes the needs of the South African people. Unfortunately, the finance minister's handling of the budget process has failed to reflect the urgency of addressing socio-economic challenges such as unemployment, poverty, and inequality." That's a powerful statement, and one that echoes growing frustrations across the political spectrum. The MK party is particularly concerned about the apparent lack of transparency and clarity in how government expenditure is being prioritized. They argue that critical sectors, like healthcare, education, and infrastructure, are being severely underfunded, while billions are allocated to less pressing or politically convenient projects. Let's pause for a moment and consider what this means. South Africa is a country where over 32% of the population is unemployed, where young people are battling to find work, and where public hospitals and schools are often overcrowded, understaffed, and under-resourced. When a national budget appears to ignore these urgent realities, it's no surprise that opposition parties like the MK party would call foul. They also raise concerns about the consultative process, or rather, the lack thereof. According to Mthembu, the 2025 budget was drawn up without meaningful engagement with labor unions, business stakeholders, civil society groups, or provincial governments. That's a problem. Because when a national budget is crafted behind closed doors, it becomes less a tool for transformation and more a mechanism for maintaining the status quo. And here's where things get even more serious. The MK party is warning that this kind of budget process could undermine the legitimacy of the entire government. In their view, fiscal planning should be open, participatory, and driven by the needs of the people, not the priorities of elite interests or international financial institutions. They argue that the current approach could lead to greater social unrest, deeper inequality, and a loss of public faith in democratic institutions. But Enoch Godongwana isn't backing down. He's defended his budget as pragmatic, fiscally responsible, and necessary given South Africa's economic constraints. He says the country can't afford reckless spending and that government must live within its means. That sounds reasonable, until you consider what living within our means actually looks like when millions are still without access to clean water, functional roads, or decent housing. So who's telling the truth here? On one hand, the minister is right to be cautious. South Africa's debt-to-GDP ratio is alarming, and international rating agencies are watching closely. A misstep could result in higher borrowing costs, capital flight, or even economic collapse. But on the other hand, austerity alone has never solved poverty. It's a bit like telling a starving person to save money by skipping meals, technically logical, but morally and socially disastrous. The MK party is pushing for a shift in priorities. They're calling for bold investments in public infrastructure, quality education, free higher education for the poor, and universal access to healthcare. They say that these are not luxuries, they are rights, and they are essential for breaking the cycle of poverty that still plagues millions of South Africans. This debate isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about what kind of society South Africa wants to be. Is it a country that puts bankers before children? That rewards austerity while the townships go dark and dry from load shedding and water cuts? Or is it a country that believes in shared prosperity, in dignity for all, and in using the national budget as a tool for justice? This is the battle playing out between the Finance Ministry and the MK party. And it's one that could define the 2024 elections and beyond. Already, political analysts are noting that the MK party's popular stance, its focus on economic justice, state-led development, and radical transformation, is gaining traction among disillusioned voters. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time Enoch Godongwana has faced criticism. His tenure as finance minister has been marked by several controversies, from his initial reluctance to increase social grants to ongoing tensions with Treasury over public sector wages. While some praise him for being a steady hand in a storm, others say he's too cautious, too conservative, and too disconnected from the people he's supposed to serve. Meanwhile, the ANC is under pressure from multiple directions. It's losing ground to the EFF, to the DA in urban centers, and now to the MK party in provinces like KwaZulu-Natal. With local government elections around the corner and national elections looming, budget choices aren't just financial decisions, they're political messages. So what comes next? As Parliament prepares to debate and possibly amend the 2025 budget, all eyes will be on whether the ANC makes concessions, whether the opposition holds firm, and whether civil society mobilizes to demand a budget that actually puts people first. And that brings us to the bigger question: will this moment become a turning point for South Africa's fiscal future, or just another missed opportunity? Will the ruling party heed the warnings and change course? Or will they double down on a model that critics say is failing the people? We'll be watching closely. If you found this video informative, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Do you agree with the MK party's critique, or do you think Godongwana's cautious approach is what South Africa needs right now? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay informed, stay engaged, and see you next time.